We need to have a serious conversation about credit and what's going on with Congress and why they want to take control over credit. You see, a few months back, I made a video talking about President Joe Biden wanting to get rid of all three credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Now, a lot of feedback was received on this video. You see, it was flat out 50-50. 50% of us felt as if, heck yeah, let's make it happen. There's a long overhaul that needs to be done with the credit reporting system, the way it's caused racial injustice into some of the groups, some racial groups, from being able to purchase properties, from being able to purchase vehicles at least at rates that they can afford, which causes them to then lose those assets later on because they can't keep up with the payments. And then another 50% of us felt as if, wait a minute, I've been working pretty hard to actually build my credit to where it is. I've been making my payments on time. I've been responsible with my finances. And now you're telling me that the government wants to put their hands into the pot and just completely revamp and reshape the way that the credit system has been built? You've got to be kidding me. So in this video, I am going to reintroduce to you the urge that Congress has yet again to completely revamp and give a new facelift and a new look to the credit scoring model that we know today as FICO. Now, we know that credit is one of those things that 99.9% of Americans eventually are going to need. Now, the 1% of Americans are maybe those that do everything with cash. But let's be honest here, for the majority of us, if we're looking to finance a car, if we're looking to purchase a property, if we're looking to invest, at one point or another, we are going to use credit. You see, in my opinion, credit is a gateway to wealth. And whether we like it or not, credit has certain rules that we have to play by and live with, whether we like it or not. An example being, let's say if you are trying to work your way up to a 750 credit score. Well, you can't necessarily work your way up or even have a credit score if you don't have a credit card. And you can't necessarily get a credit card unless you have a credit score. Well, you see how those two things kind of play with each other and they kind of cancel out the entire process to begin with. So it's kind of like an oxymoron, and it's paradoxical on how the entire system works. You see, the House has already passed two bills which they are revisiting, one being Comprehensive Credit Act and the other being Protecting Your Credit Score Act of 2021. Now, both of these bills present a major change to the landscape of how the credit system has been built. They feel that these for-profit companies, again, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, shouldn't be profiting off of people if they are actually looking to provide a service. But this is where a lot of people miss the mark, because the credit bureaus, we aren't their customers. You and I, the consumer, their customer is actually the creditor. This is why they offer services like, if you attach your name to this, we'll report your rent. Or if you wanted to have this service to raise your credit score so that you can go ahead and purchase a mortgage. But if you look closely behind the scenes, you'll see that a lot of these services that are offered are geared toward the creditor in order to provide a bigger revenue stream back to them, which makes it seem like the credit bureaus are more after a profit and not necessarily for the people, which is why Congress has said, look, we are going to cause a complete change in the way that the system is currently functioning. Now, if you're not familiar with how the credit reporting currently works and what makes up a FICO score, here's a 5-step formula that goes into your FICO score, and then we'll go over some changes that that Congress wants to introduce to the entire scoring model that you need to pay attention to, because this could end up affecting your score. And then we'll go ahead and go over some pros and cons of what this means for us and how we can possibly adjust. Now, what makes up about 70% of your credit score is going to be your payment history as well as your credit utilization. Now, in that, it pretty much says how well you've been able to pay your credit card bills on time, and it also says how much of a balance are you keeping every single month. The third biggest component that makes up your credit score is going to be the length of how long you've had your credit cards open. And then the last two pieces that make up your credit score, making up less than 30% of your entire score, is going to be your credit mix, meaning how many types types of credit do you have? Do you have revolving lines of credit? Do you have store cards? Do you have home loans? Do you have auto loans? And then how new is your credit? Meaning, have you just opened up these credit cards? Are they more than 6 months old, or are they less than 3 years old? Now, another major problem that tends to confuse people is the type of score that you actually have. You see, it's not just one score, meaning if you go on Credit Karma, for example, and you take a look at your score, that's something called the Vantage. You can be at a 750, 770, maybe even an 800 on there, right? But you see, when it comes to lenders, they have a tighter scoring model, which makes it a little bit more difficult for you to obtain financing for things like a mortgage. They have the FICO 5, they have the FICO 4, and they have the FICO 2. What this is they take a look at your middle score. So if you have an 800, if you have a 750, and if you have a 720, they're going to take a look at that middle score across the board, and that's what they're going to base your pre-approval on. But their lending restrictions are significantly tighter than what you would have with a Vantage score, because they take a look at things like medical debt, and which lowers your DTI ratio, which is your debt to income ratio, which is what determines what you get approved for to begin with. Not to mention that these scores are also looked at differently if you're looking to either rent a property or if you're looking to purchase a car. Now, what are some changes that Congress is looking to introduce? First on the list, they're looking to offer lines of credit to people without necessarily looking at their credit score or judging the decision off of a credit score. These are some of the regulations that they're looking to put into place. This is a big change because up to this point, if let's say you didn't have a 650 or a 700 on your credit score, you couldn't attain certain types of financing. This is going to take it a step further though, because they're actually going to take a look at the type of accounts that you have open. How much do you have in your checking? What are your spending habits like? How much do you have in your savings? Do you have a Roth IRA? Do you have any type of stocks? What's your portfolio looking like? You see, myself as an example, I've fallen into that category where I had less than a 620 credit score, but at that point, my business was already booming. Unfortunately, my credit score had dropped because of just some dumb financial decisions that I made when I was younger, but my business had already taken off years later. So I was sitting with, at the time, $30,000, $40,000 in the bank, but my credit hadn't yet caught up to my new lifestyle, which kept me from being able to purchase a home at a much younger age, as well as being able to even get qualified for certain credit cards or even rental properties when I was looking to make that move. Congress is also looking to get rid of medical debt that reports onto somebody's credit. They're looking to add things like utilities as well as rental payments. Right now, you can add rental payments to your credit report, but it would need to come through a third-party type of source. I recommend, and you guys can go ahead and check it out, Rental Karma. You can find the link to that and enjoy a coupon down in the bottom if you did want to have at least 2 years of rental reporting over to your credit. It's one of the easiest and fastest ways of getting some aged lines added to your credit without having your credit pulled. They're also looking to lower, right now it's 7 years for bankruptcies and collections. They're looking to lower the 7 years specifically for collections from 7 years down to only 4 years. And probably the biggest change, which has caused an uproar in the entire credit industry, is going to be removing all 3 credit bureaus and putting all of the scoring model and all of the items that you can dispute on one public registry without having to go through the hassle of reporting or having to dispute to each of the 3 credit bureaus. Now I'm going to give you 3 pros and 3 cons of if something like this were to actually go into place that we should look out for. First, for the pros, it would be much easier for you to get a mortgage and get approved for it because, again, they don't necessarily just look at your credit score. They're also going to look at your savings account. They're going to take a look at your spending habits. And again, you don't have that medical debt weighing down your debt to income ratio. Number 2 is there's less waiting period. So if, let's say, you made some dumb decisions in your early 20s or maybe in your early 30s, and now you're in a season in your life where you've matured, you understand how to use your finances, you've created your budget. Look, we've all been there. We've all had mistakes. This has what we can say a faster forgiveness process in terms of, instead of waiting 7 years, you would only now have to wait 4 years. And then number 3, there's, in my opinion, a better overall picture of how someone is financially. Again, it's not just about a credit score. It's also about how much money they have in their bank, how much money they've been able to save, and do they have any type of investments, which you couldn't necessarily see with just a credit score. But like anything else, there are downsides. And the first con to this that I see is going to be the mix up of how do we actually remove negative items off of our credit report. Right now, we understand the process, the type of dispute letters that need to go out in the sequence if we're looking to remove charge-offs, collections, repos, negative items, especially since we know that certain letters work for certain things that shouldn't be on our credit report to begin with. But when it comes to this, we don't necessarily know the timeline that it would actually take to get these items removed. That's the first thing that I see. The second thing is, what about the rest of us that maybe were responsible with our credit? We made our payments on time. We never let our credit score dip below a certain number. Why are we getting punished, or why does it feel like we're getting punished if we were able to make our payments on time, which kind of makes it feel as if the entire system is getting changed for a select group of people? I'm sure some people are going to feel like that, but again, that's just a con that I see getting thrown around, especially from the last video that I made concerning this. And number three, this could create a false sense of security when it comes to getting a loan. Even though someone, let's say, has $20,000 or $30,000 in the bank, they may not necessarily be as comfortable, or they may not necessarily be as responsible with some of the habits that they've created in the past when it comes to repaying some of the debt that they have. And they may just take advantage of having that 4-year wipe-off period where they'll just run up all these credit cards, they'll run up all of these loans, and then they'll just wait after 4 years and just kind of repeat and re-rinse that cycle. Now, again, that's a select group of people, but they are out there. Overall, in my opinion, I know that this is going to be a 50-50. I know that this helps a large group of people that feel as if they've been left out when it comes to creating real wealth with homes, with assets. And then the other group are saying, well, I've been responsible this entire time, and I think that if I've been playing to the rules of how credit is, if I've been able to do it, why hasn't another person been able to do it? So you let me know down in the comments, are you on board with this change? Or do you feel comfortable with the government having so much control over such an important factor when it comes to building wealth? Let me know down in the comments. In my opinion, there's no right or wrong answer, but I do want to hear what you have to say, and I am going to join you down there in the conversation. As always, if you found value in this content, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Join the official community. Don't forget that anytime we're not posting on here, we're posting over on the Inside with Irv show. So if you like what we have going on over here, you'll love what we have going on over there. Once again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video.